Now, I have seen Apocalypse a lot of times be aggressive, but nowhere to that extent. And I do feel like maybe he was just being overly aggressive a little bit. Now he's going to calm down and play his standard style of StarCraft. But I do want to give him credit for his aggressiveness, and also want to give credit for Huck's just positioning reactiveness to all of the aggression that was coming out, because I thought both players played a very unconventional style. But let's go ahead and introduce the players. In the top right-hand position as the blue Terran, it is Apocalypse from Team IVD. And spawning over here in the top left-hand position, the red Protoss, it is Evil Genius's Huck. Whirlwind, definitely a very big map. I love the decision of both of these players, because we're going to be seeing most likely a Nexus first and a Command Center first for both of them. Makes a lot of sense.
I think that's definitely what we could see. Sometimes the Protoss don't want to go for that Nexus first though anyways, just because there is that possibility of cheese. Although it's quite unlikely, sometimes you don't want to take that gamble.
Well, not even cheese. We've seen people do things that just punish that straight up. Major comes to my mind, who goes a very fast reactored factory on this map, gets 2 Hellions really fast, and tries to really deal with Nexus firsts a little bit more aggressively.
That's one of the more common metagames these days on this map, to go for that quick 2 Hellions, because a lot of the time on this 4-player map, the Protoss is going to try to scout with his Mothership Core and his Stalker. And when he does that, his Mothership Core is at a position, the 2 Hellions just run into the base and kill a lot of probes.
Yeah, or you could just stay back, defend, and not know anything about anything.
Yeah.
Defend against everything, and then just incur a lot of indirect damage. So obviously, what I'm trying to say is, that's not a good plan to do, right?
No, but it looks like Apocalypse, he's going for that fast Command Center this time. CC first,
I like
2
it.
barracks behind it.
How does this normally play out in your head? Nexus first against Command Center first. You could say standard, but I mean, what's the differences of our regular conventional barracks against Gateway?
Well, I mean, it just goes both players, a slightly better economy and later tech. And I think it will depend on what kind of tech Huck wants to follow this up with. Because Apocalypse, he's going to make a decent amount of Marines, probably 7 to 8, and then I think he'll put on a bit of pressure just to force out a Photon Overcharge when he sees Huck's going to Nexus first.
Alright, well, scouts are being done right now. Huck doing the unconventional cross-map scout. And he's probably going to meet up with Apocalypse's SCV pretty soon here, as he's going to the same area. Can he actually see that? No, it looks like no.
That's not as unconventional when you're going for about like Nexus first though, just because you kind of want to scout out any kind of cheeses, and you're more likely to see them if you scout through the middle of the map.
Makes sense.
Still, usually you're not going to see anything, but that 1 out of 100 times you see something and it gives away the cheese. So,
well, that makes a lot of sense actually. Like,
it's
I guess
common
proxies or just even like medevacs running over or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's common in other matchups too. ZBZ these days on this map, you'll send your second Overlord to the middle of the map, because if they're going for any 1-base Ling Baneling, a lot of the time you can catch Lings crossing the middle of the map to go towards your base. And I think it's the same kind of thing here. It's obviously less likely you see anything in PvT, but still, it doesn't take that much longer to cross the middle of the map than to go to one of the other bases first.
Looks like Apocalypse is pushing out now with a couple of Marines here. Pylon is going to go down, as you can see. Warp Gate is not being chrono boosted out right now. I did see a lot of chrono boost being done onto the just Nexi, so he was prioritizing a lot of minerals in the early stages, or at least probes in the early stages can yield minerals. Double refineries going down directly after a 3rd barracks and an engineering bay as well. There's a couple of different transitions you do. I've seen double refineries after 2 barracks, 3 barracks, and even 5 barracks for some really early aggression, but that build is really, really uncommon.
I like the 2 gateways that Huck followed up his Nexus first with. A lot of the time you'll see 1 gateway and then throw down the robotics for the tech, but 2 gateways is smart. Because when you're doing this Nexus first build, the Mothership Core is a lot less energy, so if Terran can force out that Photon Overcharge, the second one's going to be a lot farther behind than normally. So with his 2 gateways, you see he's building a lot of units quickly. He built 2 sentries and 2 zealots and a stalker before he got warp gates, and that's to prevent any kind of 7 marine poke, something like that, without having to use his Photon Overcharge.
Okay, makes a lot of sense. I do want to say real quick that Huck's style is to bank up a lot of chrono boost, and a lot of people are like, oh, Huck, why don't you spend your chrono boost a lot earlier? No, he uses it reactively instead, and really tries to see exactly what he can get out of his opponent. Oh, now pushing down. And Huck might have made a mistake, but now the Marines are backing up. We'll be trying to kite the Zealots, but it looks like there's just too much, losing so many Marines from this early engagement. And Huck all of a sudden in a great position because the third base is going down from Apocalypse, and he's kind of caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
And I think Huck will check for that third base.
You think so?
Maybe
a lot of
he
times,
won't.
especially look at the time, right? Like nobody ever really thinks there's a third base now.
But still, I think some Protesses would, and I think maybe he just decided not to check.
Yeah.
But
This could be an indicator. He sees the timing of the factory. It's pretty late here. And from that, he might be like, oh, something's up.
He can still warp in some units from that proxy pylon if he wants to try to scout out. And I'm maybe a bit surprised that he's not doing that, because he sees that late factory timing, and he should think something's up, you know?
Yeah, I would agree. And I think he saw even the add-ons. Yeah, he did see the add-ons. And not seeing add-ons, normally you save the gas in these add-ons for going a quicker factory, but if you see both of them not there at the same time, all of a sudden your mind should be churning like, what is going on right now? Why does he not have everything? It could even be double eBay, but at least the range is there could be a very fast expansion. Let's check for that. But Huck not able to put together right there and then. Of course, they're starting out from very weird positions. He didn't know if it was command center first or not, so that could definitely influence things.
Another thing we see Huck doing this game that he did the last game that I like a lot is he's doing that quick warp prism from his robotics. And it's not expensive, it doesn't take that long to make, and I think it's a good investment for the early game.
I think it's a good investment for every game.
Me too. I mean,
it's like
it doesn't die unless you mess up with it. So.
It's a mobile pylon that is faster than everything but Phoenix is. Cool stuff. Zealot getting in here and scouting out the command center. So this is going to help. And now, what does Huck actually do from here? Does he go for pressure, or does he just take his own third base, Mike?
Well, it could be either. It depends how aggressively he wants to play, I think. In some situations, we'll see a Protest go for a quick timing with Archons and Charge Lots, but I think it comes down a bit to the play style of the different players. A lot of Protesses like to play just defensive every game, and if they see a quick expansion, they just take their own expansion behind it, and it looks like that's what Huck's doing. Maybe he just practiced the style more, and he doesn't want to do something that he didn't play in practice. Because often, you're not going to be facing this fast third command center at the third base in practice, so you don't prepare that charge, that Archon timing that you might want to do. So just do what you practice, take the third base, start teching up towards the late game.
Alright, well, I think that's the most conventional thing that we see, a nice snipe off that War Prison in the top, and meanwhile there is some sort of engagement on the bottom ground. Charge just about to finish, but there's a shift queue onto all the SCVs. That's going to be told to Apocalypse there that charge is up, so he shouldn't, or a lot of times you don't worry about Colossus because charge lot Colossus openings are really bad. And that should tell Apocalypse, oh, okay, I'm up against High Templars by process of elimination.
This is some nice Zealot harass going down by Huck, I think. It's just keeping Apocalypse back. It lets Huck keep tabs on when the Ghosts are added into that composition to some extent, because he doesn't have any observers close to Apocalypse now. It's kind of the only method he has for scouting. And also, it just kind of gives him time to tech to Storm and set up his third base.
Yeah, it's still not the most cost-efficient engagements, though. I mean, that's the one thing that you have to be so scared of. And with him down in economy, this is looking to be really scary. Still, High Templars are out in the field, but it's not a high number. Sentries might be caught out of position here, and he's going to throw down a lot of force fields. But 2 sentries are going to go down. Chase has been given. Sentry will be... Oh, I thought it was going to be taken out. Yes, it will be. But Concussive Shell is not yet upgraded now. Storms go down. It's not going to be enough. Just kills a single Marauder and a couple Marines here. Where is the rest of Huck's army? It looks like he's over at the third base, but it's getting mass repaired. A nice defense by Apocalypse as he moves into the third base. Photon Overcharge is activated. Nice storm that goes down on all the units, but is it going to be enough units from Huck? Now, the Nexus is going to be targeted down. There's so many medevacs here. He can just pick up and go into the main base. I'm not sure what he's going to do. He's just going to kill a lot of Zealots. I agree with that.
Well, I mean, he doesn't need to pick up because he can kill all of these units of
yeah.
Huck's.
Apparently so.
You don't need to pick up and run away when you have a better army than him.
And Huck, because of that, is going to take a big loss. Third base is down for him. Third base is up for Apocalypse. What can Huck actually do from here? He has no composition advantage anymore. The upgrades are looking pretty okay. I mean, it's 1-1 right now for the Terran army. I think 2-2 for the Protoss, just about to approach into a 2-2. And I mean, yes, you're one upgrade down, but it doesn't really mean nearly as much with the economic advantage that you have.
And the army supply of Apocalypse is just so much larger than Huck at this point. And if even if you're heading upgrades, you can't trade effectively if he just has so many more units than you.
And that's what it comes down to. Not enough AoE as well. I mean, all of these things are going to affect him. High Templar being spawned all the way down to the bottom. Huck, I mean, he's done a good job at just maintaining pylons all around the map. But at this point, I mean, it might just be too much. But we'll find out. I mean, anything can really happen. Double drop happening in the top left-hand corner of the map. And finally, it will be dealt with pretty easily over here. But still, I mean, how does he deal with his main army? And as soon as ghosts get added into this composition, it's going to complicate things so much, Mike.
Yeah, and he's not taking to Colossi, so he's not going to have an army that's good against Ghost for a long time. I mean, he has a decent High Templar count, but they don't have that much energy, only about 2 storms left, and then he's out.
Yep, the single Archon is going to be merged from all of this, now pushing his Archon, just making sure that it's alright. He joins up with the rest of his drop, and those will drop down, just continue pushing forward, killing the Immortals, and now it looks like Huck will have to tap out pretty soon here, because even with the upgrade event, it does not matter. +2 weapons attack has finished. Ghost now being added into the composition, so any form, any semblance of an advantage that Huck would have had is just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Apocalypse is in a comfortable position. I like the fact that he's added on more command centers, just being very, very complete with how he wants to win this game. He doesn't want to, you know, take a bad fight, all of a sudden he's behind, maybe somehow. You know, he's still maintaining his advantage, still maintaining his economy, trying to grow it even more. When you're ahead, well, you always say, just kill them.
Yeah.
But when you're ahead, get more ahead.
And he has a lot of ghosts in his composition now as well. He has 6 ghosts here. And that's a lot of ghosts. He can easily deal with the amount of High Templar Huck has. Huck, he looks like he only has 2 High Templar at this natural base. And they only have enough for 1 storm each as well. I think it'd be tough to deal with Apocalypse's force. And actually, Apocalypse's army looks kind of small near Huck's base, although he has a lot of supply. But, I mean, it looks like it should be enough.
Yeah, I mean, ghosts are so good against zealots as well. They kill them just so fast. Not only the EMPs, but the 20 damage that they do against light units. And that's going to do it. Huck, he's doing one last-ditch attack over at the 3rd base, but that's going to be cleaned up pretty soon here in a little bit, as there's just too many Marines and Marauders. The natural is just getting torn apart. Huck probably going to have to... there it is.